There's a moment in every underdog story where everything nearly goes quiet forever, where the cameras switch off, the crowds go home, and the person who once had everyone's attention just disappears. For Matty Juniosa, that moment came in the summer of 2019. He'd just been eliminated from one of the biggest singing competitions in Philippine television history. He was 20 years old, he hadn't won, and by every measure that the entertainment industry uses to judge you, he'd come up short. What happened next is a story that almost nobody paid attention to, until the entire world suddenly couldn't look away. To understand what makes Matty's journey so extraordinary, you have to go back to where it started. The first season of Idol Philippines aired in 2019 on ABS-CBN, and it was a massive event. The judging panel alone, Regine Velasquez, Vice Ganda, James Reid, and Moira De La Torre, told you everything about the scale of the show. The nation was invested. Millions of Filipinos tuned in week after week to watch these young singers compete for a recording contract, a cash prize, and the kind of recognition that only one television moment can give you. Matty made it to the top 12. He was young, he was talented, he had genuine stage presence, and then he was gone. The winner that season was Zephany Demaranan, and rightfully so, but elimination at that level, in front of that audience, leaves a mark. Years later, standing on the Britain's Got Talent stage in front of 4 judges in a packed arena, he would say out loud what that experience had done to him. He told the crowd he'd spent years haunted by the belief that he would always be a singing competition loser. That line didn't come from nowhere. It came from 2019. But here's the part most people skip over. Matty didn't crumble after Idol Philippines. He regrouped, and he did it quickly. Along with 2 fellow contestants from that same season, Lucas Garcia and Enzo Almario, he formed a vocal trio called Idols, backed by ABS-CBN. What followed was actually a solid run by any standard. The group released a string of singles, built a following across the Philippines, and in 2021 they competed on Season 3 of Your Face Sounds Familiar, one of the most popular celebrity impersonation shows on Philippine television. They performed as Rod Stewart, Bryan Adams, and Sting, and they won Week 7 of the competition. The group finished 4th overall in the series. Their original music gained real traction too. In 2021, Idols released a queer empowerment anthem called Kapangyarihan under ABS-CBN's Star Pop label, and the track ended up being selected as the finale lip-sync song for Season 2 of Drag Race Philippines. That's not a small thing. That's a song landing on one of the most culturally visible shows in the country at that time. From the outside, it looked like the group was building real momentum. Then 2022 arrived, and everything changed. On September 3, 2022, Enzo Almario made the announcement that Idols was disbanding. The reason wasn't drama, it wasn't conflict, it wasn't the kind of fallout that usually ends a group. It was something far more personal. Matty had been accepted into the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland in Glasgow on a partial scholarship to study musical theatre. He was leaving. In his own statement at the time, Matty said he was immensely excited but also deeply anxious, because he'd never truly been on his own before and had never had to sustain himself in a foreign country. That kind of honesty matters. This wasn't a polished PR announcement. It was a young man admitting that he was terrified of what he was about to do and doing it anyway. He was leaving behind a group, a label, a country, and a career that was starting to gain traction, all to bet on himself in a place where nobody knew his name. The decision wasn't purely about music school either. The COVID-19 pandemic had reshaped daily life in the Philippines dramatically, and the political climate at the time played a role in his thinking. Scotland was a clean start. Glasgow was a city he'd chosen specifically and deliberately, not London, not the obvious move. He'd grown up watching James McAvoy, Ncuti Gatwa, and David Tennant, all of them alumni of the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, and he wanted to be where they had been. That's not impulsive. That's a young man who had done his homework and knew exactly what kind of artist he was trying to become. What followed were the years nobody really documented. From 2022 through early 2026, Matty Juniosa was essentially off the radar of the Filipino public that had once cheered for him. He was in Glasgow, working as a part-time waiter to cover his bills, studying full-time, and performing in every production he could get cast in. The work was relentless and mostly unseen. In 2024, he performed at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 2 productions, playing Lola in Kinky Boots and Clopin in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. In 2025, he took on roles in 3 more productions, including Hanshin in Spring Awakening and a role in Oscar at The Crown. In early 2026, just weeks before his BGT audition would air, he was playing Muja in a production of Nija. These weren't lead roles in West End blockbusters. These were the kind of credits you build when you're serious about the craft, the grinding, unglamorous work that serious theater performers put in long before anyone's watching. He was also performing in bars across Glasgow. The Horseshoe Bar became a regular spot, and he built a loyal local following through those performances. What he didn't know was that someone was watching. Britain's Got Talent producers had found videos of him performing there and had been approaching him, not once, but multiple times. They kept coming back. He eventually said yes. That decision, to finally take the audition after being recruited, rather than just walking in off the street, is a detail that changes how you read the whole story. When Matty finally stepped onto the BGT stage, he had done more homework than anyone watching at home could have known. He'd researched the judges and learned that Simon Cowell considered Purple Rain by Prince to be one of his all-time favorite songs. Matty loved the song too, but he was fully aware of what he was taking on. It's a song that Jennifer Hudson, Beyoncé, and Cynthia Erivo have all performed. The pressure was real. He backed himself anyway. What happened in that audition room is now well documented. He walked out with more energy and personality than the stage could barely contain, cracked a joke that had the entire audience howling, and then opened his mouth and sang. The audience was on its feet before the song was finished. All four judges, Simon Cowell, Amanda Holden, Alicia Dixon, and KSI, were standing. Simon hit the golden buzzer. Confetti dropped. Matty screamed at the ceiling. The clip went viral within hours, and back in the Philippines, the reaction was immediate and overwhelming. For a man who had spent years telling himself he was a competition loser, the irony of that moment was not lost on anyone who knew his story. The semi-final only amplified everything. Matty performed Aerosmith's Dream On, backed by a gospel choir, and delivered the kind of vocal performance that stops a room cold. Judge Alicia Dixon called it effortlessly sensational. Amanda Holden later revealed she had asked the producers what would happen if she didn't press her golden buzzer. They told her it would go to the audience. She said she wasn't letting that happen, and she pressed it herself. That second golden buzzer made history. Matty became the only contestant in Britain's Got Talent history to receive 2 golden buzzers in a single season. His semi-final performance racked up over 2 million YouTube views in just 5 days. Meanwhile, news broke that he had also been cast in the London Palladium production of Jesus Christ Superstar in the West End, playing Annis, a role that demands serious upper-register vocals and precision ensemble work. He was competing on one of Britain's biggest television stages while simultaneously securing professional theatre credits in London. The waiter from Glasgow had become, almost overnight, one of the most talked-about performers in the UK. The BGT Grand Final is set for May 30th, and the winner is decided entirely by public vote. Whether Matty wins or not almost feels secondary to everything that's already happened. The story here isn't really about a competition. It's about what 7 years of invisible work actually looks like when the light finally hits it. In 2019, a 20-year-old was eliminated from a Philippine talent show and walked away quietly. He didn't quit. He formed a group, built a following, released music that ended up on Drag Race Philippines, walked away from all of it to study alone in a foreign country, waited tables, performed in every small theater he could find, sang in bars until producers came looking for him, and then stepped onto a stage in Britain and reminded the world that talent doesn't disappear just because the cameras do. The question was never whether Matty Juniosa was good enough. The question was always whether the world would eventually slow down long enough to notice. In 2026, it finally did.